While we have gone this far and the Filipino people are rooting and are supporting us, there are challenges that we, the Philippines and the CPP, NPA, NDF, must together address as we meet here today on the scheduled fifth round of peace negotiations. President Duterte has given the mandate and the strategic directions where we all can possibly converge, taking unprecedented and even unconventional and never done before actions and decisions to seek peace. And these include, number one, engaging the CPP, NP, NDF even before the assumption into office of the President, doing back channeling to restart the long-stalled and the moribund peace talks. Number two, inviting the outlawed CPP, NP, NDF to nominate members of his cabinet. Three, in unprecedented moves, releasing prisoners facing criminal charges and others already convicted by our regular courts, and those who are old and infirm and sick. Fourth, and for a time, declaring a unilateral ceasefire and halting offensive operations against the NPAs. Next, personally welcoming and meeting several times with leaders of the CPP, NPA, NDF in the center of government in Malacanang. And despite the open and blatant attacks of NPAs in the country and even in Davao City, which is the President's own home turf, he directed our panel to keep the course of peace. His actions were decisive, that entailed investment of valuable so-called political capital, but he kept the course steady in protecting the gains of the peace talks which have reached this unprecedented stage. However, today, as we meet here, there are serious challenges that must be addressed. Please allow me to mention a few. One, the noticeable upscale of incidents of offensive actions by the NPAs throughout the country. Next, the seeming perception of the bigger public that these NPA operations are open and public defiance of President Duterte, who has consistently accommodated them in unprecedented ways. Next, the renewed surfacing of public apprehension, questioning the sincerity of the CPP, NP, NDF in the talks. The public admissions of some panel members, the disturbing public admissions of some panel members of the CPP, NP, NDF leaders that they have no control over their forces on the ground. The sudden and perceptible erosion of public support to the peace talks, with strong messages now received from the public to altogether stop peace negotiations. The clamor now to pursue instead localized peace talks. And the latest and recent President's public statements that he will no longer sign agreements with the CPP, NP, NDF if all of this will continue and not addressed. All of these developments now put at great risk our efforts to stay the course of peace. But the most serious development of late, and which now puts in great jeopardy as to whether or not we can still keep the course of peace in the peace table, is the blatant, publicly announced decision of the Communist Party of the Philippines, the political organ of our counterparts across the table, who are here with us, ordering their forces on the ground to accelerate and intensify attacks against the government in the face of the declaration of martial law in Mindanao, which was principally directed at extremists and terrorists who openly and defiantly challenged the government and put to harm the Filipino people, triggered by the still ongoing violent incident in the Islamic city of Marawi in Mindanao. By such defiant, blatant, and serious challenge by the CPP-NDF, directed at government under the leadership of President Rodrigo Duterte, despite all these gains in our work for peace, and despite the personal show of goodwill and trust that the President, no less, has extended to the leaders of the Communist Party of the Philippines, the government panel, as I now state, is now left without any other recourse but to announce, with due respects to our counterparts across the table and to our facilitator, the Royal Norwegian government, that it will not proceed to participate in the scheduled 5th rounds of peace negotiations until such time as there are clear indications that an enabling environment conducive to achieving just and sustainable peace in the land through peace negotiations across the table shall prevail. We thank the Royal Norwegian government, which has so far steadfastly and fully supported our joint work for peace for so long. I trust it will understand why we at the Philippine government side have arrived at this decision. And finally, as we always say, and we will continue to say, the road to peace is not a well-paved road. It has humps and bumps along the way, but let us all stay the course. This is not an easy road to peace. In order to stay the course in this not so easy road to peace in our land. End of my statement.